College football fans, black and gold fans, welcome in or welcome back to the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog, where we examine, discuss, honor, and celebrate all things college football across the entire college football landscape. Here on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog, this channel is not just for the fans of the black and gold of the Iowa Hawkeyes, because, hey, nobody's perfect. But yet, this is a safe zone, a gathering place, a safe haven for all college football fans from north to south, east to west, and everywhere in between. You are all welcome here on the channel. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being back here with me, guys. I'm your usual host, Blair Parks. Holla at you, boy. It's great to be back. And 1 second, pause everything. I've got breaking news. Right off the teletype. Guess what, guys and girls? We are merely 4 days and a wake up from Iowa Hawkeye football. And what sounds even better than that? But we are merely 2 days away and a wake up from the first Big Ten conference game, which happens Thursday night when Nebraska travels to Minnesota to take on the Golden Gophers in the Twin Cities. How great does that sound to know week 0 is in the rearview mirror and football is right around the corner? Yes, that is right. How pumped up and how excited are we? Woo! Ric Flair style. All right. But anyway, guys, I've got a great episode for you today. This is my 2023 Iowa Hawkeye season preview and prediction show. I'm sorry I got this out to you about a week late. Things came up. Remember, I am just your normal average Joe. Well, maybe below average as far as looks. As you can tell, I have a face for radio. But hey, life happens. I have a legit job. I've got 2 children. And sometimes things just come up. But it's great to be here with you to share this special episode with you. And just to prove I'm a man of the people, for the people. And I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. As I said in the opening, this is for all college football fans, not just for fans of the Iowa Hawkeyes. So what I've done for this Hawkeye season preview and predictions episode, I've also invited all of my fellow Big Ten West brethren, the fans, Wisconsin fans. I have invited and tagged all of you. So my Wisconsin fans, get up and jump around. My brothers and sisters of the Fighting Illini, welcome in. To the Boilers out there, boiler up. Welcome Purdue fans, Minnesota fans, keep those boats a-rowing. Welcome into the channel. For Nebraska fans, welcome Big Red. And for the Northwestern fans up in the Windy City, hang in there. We've got your back. Woo! But anyway, welcome all. And please, thank you for all that you do here for the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. The channel is growing. Views are up. Likes are up. Shares are up. Comments and subscriptions. But I need your help. Please, if you like what you see and what you hear, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Like, share, comment. Tell your fellow college football fans, friends, coworkers about the channel. Have them check me out, and as I do every episode, please, I welcome and invite your participation. I promise you, if you comment during this episode, whether it's like or dislike, I promise you, sooner than later, I will respond to each and every one of you individually. So please, get involved. Let me hear from you. Get involved. Let your voice be heard. Because remember, once again, you, the college football fan, drive these episodes. So what's on tap for today's special episode? Going to start off here in a little bit with some primary opening thoughts and commentary about the upcoming season for our Iowa Hawkeyes. Then I'd like to move into my top 5s, including the 5 biggest strengths I see for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Then the 5 Iowa Hawkeyes that I'm most excited to see this season on the gridiron, and then followed by the 5 biggest questions or weaknesses that I predict that I see for this roster during this season. Then after that, I will move into my prediction segment to where I will break down each and every one of Iowa's 12 regular season games. I will give you a win and a loss. Then following that, I will share with you my official prediction for what their record will be, followed by their potential ceiling and the floor that I see if things kind of go awry for this squad. Then I will break down what I predict will be their most important, toughest 4-game stretch during the season. And then I will provide you with who I believe will ultimately claim this season's Big Ten West title and go ahead and proceed to Indianapolis to take on the winner of the East Division. Now, if you watched my season preview, which my episode was about 2 weeks ago now, my Big Ten season preview episode, I already kind of gave you the insight to who I believe is going to win the West Division. If you did, great. I hoped you liked it. Feel free to please check it out if you didn't. But I will start off by saying this. Do not spoil it for those who have not. I will start off by saying just a little tease, a little cliffhanger. I do believe that our Iowa Hawkeyes have a very, very good chance of claiming the title in the West Division for this upcoming season. So without further ado, guys and girls, let's get it on. Woo! Michael Buffer style. Sort of. Once again, I do my own stunts here on the Touchdown Black and Go vlog. If this is your first time with me, I don't do any edits. I don't do any redos, no dress rehearsals, because once again, all of that sounds like a lot of work, and this is just a hobby for me. And I thank you for being here and allowing me to share with you my love of everything college football. So let's go ahead and get started here. Opening thoughts and commentary about this upcoming season, which kicks off in 4 days in a wake-up, like I already stated, that this is going to be a year unlike any other within the Big Ten Conference, because we will never see a year ever like this ever again. Next season, unless you've been living on a rock or you've been kind of off on your own, pulling an inhabitant, if you've been a hermit, you know next season expansion is upon us. We're welcoming not 2, but 4 new teams now to the Big Ten. Former Pac-12 teams UCLA, USC, Oregon, and now Washington will be joining the conference for conference play next season. Gone will be divisions. So this is the last year of those East and West divisions within the Big Ten. And for some, I'd say for most of you Hawkeye fans watching at least, or if you're in the know in the Big Ten West, if you're a fan of a West team, you know that for a lot of Iowa fans, for what we have coming back, and a lot of other factors as far as potentially, when I get down to it, the schedule, which I'll talk about more here shortly, the stability and the upheaval within our division, that most Iowa fans believe this year should be Indy or bust. Which, do I agree with that? I do to an extent, and you'll find out why here shortly, later this episode. Because one thing too, that it's basically now the panic button. As I mentioned, no more divisions starting next season. So this might be one of the last chances for quite a while that we get to see our beloved Hawkeyes in the Big Ten title game. Or you Badger fans, or you Purdue fans, etc., in the West Division. Because now, from here, it's going to be the 2 best teams will advance to the Big Ten title game starting next season. So this is indeed a season on the brink. I do agree with those statements. Kind of the storylines that are really, to me, that are going to kind of be something that we're going to have to allude to throughout this season. Things that will really we have to look at and say this is something we cannot forget, is that upheaval that I mentioned within the division. During the offseason, we had a lot of turnover within our division. As of a month and a half ago, we knew we were going to have 3 new head coaches at the helms of some of these programs. But now, since following the alleged bullying scandal there at Northwestern, we now have 4 programs that will be headed by new coaches and coaching staffs during this season. So does it come down to, can those 4 new head coaches basically install their culture, their identities quickly? Will their teams buy in? Do they have the rosters to run their potential styles of offense and defense? Will they be successful basically overnight, which is very difficult? But I think some of these new hire coaches within our division definitely have the mojo, and they have the intellect and history to do that. Or is the West going to be won by more of a team that kind of weathered that storm, that has stability, that has a known identity, has a known culture? Because obviously, if that's the case, that is highly going to favor our Iowa Hawkeyes, other teams like Minnesota with PJ Fleck, who has been there now for a while, the Fighting Illini with Coach Bert Bielema. I think this is his 3rd season there now. So will it be one of those teams as far as that has a long-standing stability and culture that can claim the trophy? We'll have to wait and see. And the other storyline that is really going to be something we'll be watching, not just Hawkeye fans, but I think Big Ten fans everywhere and college football fans everywhere, is that scoreboard at the end of every Iowa game. The magic number, at least for much embattled OC Brian Ferentz's case, is 25 points or more. If you recall, during the offseason, there were these changes, amendments to OC Brian Ferentz's contract, who, once again, if you've been living under a rock, you know how putrid, embarrassing, and offensive Iowa's offense was last year. A lot of people were calling for his ouster. He's in, but he did get these amendments, and one of those added to his contract, which was made publicly. The team is basically required and expected to improve from 17 points a game, that's right, that's accurate, to 25 points a game or more, and they must win 7 games or more during the regular season. So we'll all be scoreboard watching to see at the end of the year, did they score 25 in every game, or will the final be an average to 25 points a game? And I'll let you know what I think here shortly. So that wraps it up for my opening comments and commentary and thoughts about this upcoming season. Please subscribe, comment, like, share. Let me know what you think. Now let's move on to my top 5s. Now, my first top 5s that I want to share with you concerning the upcoming season for the Iowa Hawkeyes is the top 5 strengths that I see on this team. And this could be an individual player, a unit of the team, a coach, fan base. It could be a lot of different factors here, all right? But these are what I see as the 5 biggest strengths for this team coming up this season. Number 5, the schedule. This is the major outlier this season for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Last year, they had to face not 1, but 2, half of the eventual college football playoff participants in both Michigan and Ohio State from the East Division. They are both off of Iowa's schedule this season. They do have to go to Penn State, but that is their toughest crossover game, Once again, I do my own stunts. And other than that, they have 5 of the 9 Big Ten conference games are in the home confines and friendly confines of Kinnick Stadium. And their hardest game, non-conference, they do play on the road at Ames for this annual edition of the Cy-Hawk Trophy contest. So the schedule is a major outlier this year for the Hawkeyes. That's definitely a strength. And also, I combine this with already what I mentioned, the stability and continuity that this team will have compared to 4 teams within that division. All right, so those definitely going to be a strength. Number 4 is the tight end room. And we all know, whether you're a Hawkeye fan or not, that the tight end position is so much more important to Iowa than any other program in the nation, how they utilize them and how they rise and fall based on their tight end play. And this year, I mean, they have a dynamic duo there in the tight end room. Returning from last year is Luke Lachey, who led the team with 4 touchdown receptions last year. He's back. Very good year last season, even playing second fiddle to tight end Sam Laporta, who was drafted and now is off to the NFL for the Detroit Lions. And during the offseason, via transfer portal, Iowa added former tight end from Michigan, Erick. He missed most of last season with an injury, but the way this guy moves people, I mean, Luke Lachey is kind of more your typical Iowa tight end, very good blocker, good route runner, solid hands, is going to be that chain mover. But Erick, when you watch him move, his body style, how he can run a route, separate, his speed, he is more of that new age hybrid, more of a wide receiver in a tight end's body. So I am very excited to watch them play. Definitely a strength for the Hawkeyes this season. Number 3 is the depth and experience along both lines of scrimmage, both on the O-line and the D-line. And that really has been, to me, one of the biggest issues, the biggest weakness that has plagued our Hawkeyes the last 2 seasons. And yeah, there's been plenty, especially on the offensive side of the ball, is the performance, or I should say, lack of performance of the offensive line. Last year and the year before, even though we had a stud, an All-American center Tyler Linderbaum, the offensive line has been very un-Iowa-like the last 2 seasons. Yes, it doesn't help, compounded that the last 2 seasons in the backfield, quarterback Spencer Petras, who's like the Statue of Liberty back there, Mr. Glass, who could not avoid a rush, not mobile at all. So it really was the double whammy. The offensive line really underperformed in pass protection and even run support, not holding their blocks, opening a path for the Iowa running backs. But this year, the O-line has 4 starters back from last season, a year older, a lot more depth, and I do think this year it will be a strength for them. And on the flip side, the D-line, I mean, these guys can go 7 deep along the Iowa defensive line. Even with the loss of defensive lineman Noah Shannon, his suspension was announced last week due to an ongoing investigation into the betting scandals that really have plagued Iowa and Iowa State. He is cooperating. He hasn't been charged with anything officially, but the NCAA has said that he is out for this season. He is appealing. So it's unfortunate to see his 6th year. I mean, he came back for one more shot at it, and now he's not going to have his opportunity. But even with losing Noah Shannon, Iowa is so deep and talented and experienced on the D-line, they're going to be wrecking balls, Miley Cyrus-like. Absolutely. Can't wait to see that. Number 2 is the crowded running back room. Iowa this year is going to turn to Caleb Johnson, their stud running back, who won the starting nod, I believe, into game 3 or 4 as a true freshman. He'll be this year's featured back. And there's 2 guys behind him that did have proven themselves and got some carries and legit time last season. So we've got a potential 3-headed monster back there running the ball, coupled with the previous strength I mentioned, the O-line. I expect Iowa to rush the ball this year much more Iowa-like that we have been accustomed to in the past. Now, next, my last and most biggest strength for this team has got to be the Iowa special teams unit. I mean, look what they have coming back. You have coming back my guy, the punter from down under, Tory Taylor. That's right, Tory Taylor for Heisman. He's back. He is a preseason Ray Guy Award winner, which goes to annually to the best punter in the nation. And then also his tag team partner, field goal kicker Drew Stevens, returns from kicking FGs. And he is a preseason Lou Groza Award winner, which goes annually to the nation's best place kicker every year. And then with that, we've got Mr. Everything, basically the machine that he is, Cooper DeJean, back there returning kicks. Definitely from punt returns, but they've said he actually might return kickoffs as well. I am so pumped and excited to watch this special teams unit perform. And that's one thing that we've gotten very, very accustomed to as Iowa fans, maybe even spoiled, how well our special teams units perform year in and year out, just like our defensive units have performed. So that right there is my 5 biggest strengths on this Hawkeye team moving into the season. Let me know what you think. Comment, like, share, rate, subscribe. Now, I'm going to move next into the 5 Hawkeyes that I am most excited about seeing this season. I'm going to start off with number 5, defensive lineman Aaron Graves. This cat is a former 4-star prospect, in-state defensive lineman. He was named the Max Preps Male Athlete of the Year his senior year of high school, coming to Iowa. This is his sophomore season. He did get into the rotation last year, so he did get a little bit of playing time, and reports are out of camp. This guy has been absolutely dominant, so I think he is able and will be able and ready to step up for the departed Noah Shannon and get more reps. Will Aaron Graves. Can't wait to see what he can do. Number 4, the captain of the O-line, because I think as the Iowa O-line goes, so goes Iowa, especially with all of the talk about adding the weapons in the offseason to the transfer portal. Erick, quarterback Cade McNamara, who I haven't even mentioned quite yet, but I'll be getting to him soon, is the captain of the O-line, center Logan Jones. He returns. This will be his second year starting at the center position. He had a very tough assignment last year, guys, stepping into the shoes of the aforementioned Tyler Linderbaum, who's now playing at the NFL. He definitely did miss a lot of blitz packages last year, a lot of formations. It is still up to him to identify and let the guys along the O-line know to mix it up or call an audible. I do expect him to be better this season, so I'm really excited to see his leadership, how much he's grown over the offseason at the center position. Number 3, the defensive backfield dynamite duo of Cooper DeJean and Xavier Nwampa. We all know what Coop can do. Returning kicks, he hands down is the best athlete on this Iowa team, the most exciting individual on this team, and I think the Iowa offense will work him in more, maybe end arounds or screens, something like that. I think they will utilize him more this year on the offensive side of the ball. And Coop last year had not 1, not 2, but 3 pick sixes. I expect, it's hard to expect that again, back-to-back seasons, but I think he will be all over the field. And then his partner in crime, Xavier Nwampa, the former 5-star recruit in state, one of the highest-rated prospects Iowa has ever gotten, ever. I mean, and last year, slowly got some playing time on the field. He made his first career start last year in the Music City Bowl against Kentucky. And what did he do? He only had a pick 6 in his first ever start. So I am so excited to see Coop and Xavier work together back there to lock down opposing quarterbacks. Number 2, I already brought him up, but I got to give him props and give credit where credit is due. the punter from down under, Torrey Taylor. I'm really excited to see what can he do, if anything, as far as improving with his encore. I mean, this is his final season. He is coming back for one more go-around in Iowa City, and the guy has done so much already. He basically does set up Iowa's defense, and I described this last year, guys. To me, he's like Iowa's first play on defense. He single-handedly can flip a field, and we've gotten so used to him consistently putting the ball inside the 20, if not inside the 10. Hopefully he can keep that up, but I'm so excited to have him back because he really is a game changer. And last year, I mean, without any hesitation, I said it then, I'll say it now, he was Iowa's MVP last season. I mean, punting is winning after all. And number one, the most exciting Iowa player I'm excited to watch is, already mentioned him, running back Caleb Johnson. He's this year's featured back. He'll be starting from game one. Last year, he rushed for 779 yards rushing, which is an Iowa program history for a true freshman. And now that he's the featured back, I think there's a magic number. Obviously, we want to keep him from getting banged up and getting injured. But if he can eclipse 1,100 yards, I think Iowa is going to be in a very, very good position to win the West and then compete really against anybody in the country from a rushing perspective. Now, does that mean they can beat anybody? No. I mean, come on. I'm not a Homer Simpson. I'm not a dreamer, okay? But at least their rushing attack will be right there with anybody else's in the country. So I cannot wait to see what KJ can do in his sophomore season coming up. So please, once again, let me know what you think about those exciting Iowa players. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Next is my 5 biggest questions and potential weaknesses of this Iowa team moving into the 2023 season. Because sometimes questions don't always mean a weakness, but it can be. And I think this team doesn't really have any major weaknesses, but there are some question marks. Number 5 is the linebacker depth and experience on this team. We have to replace, do everything. Stud linebacker, Captain Jack Campbell is off to the NFL. He was the best linebacker in the nation last year, and he has the awards to back that up. That's not just me, being a fan. It is the truth. Preach. So they have to replace his experience. They also lost another starting linebacker to the portal, now playing at Oregon. And I believe it was Seth Benson, if I'm wrong. Please let me know if I made a mistake, Hawkeye fans, or Oregon fans if you're checking this out. But they did add former stud Virginia linebacker Nick Jackson via the transfer portal. And the guy was all ACC, so he is a excellent player. But did they really add enough? All right. Now, linebacker, and in general, as an Iowa fan, knowing how good Phil Parker prepares his defense, it's hard to ever imagine the defensive side of the ball having a weakness. It's really kind of tough for me to even envision because how consistent they've been these last 5 seasons. And linebacker, as we all know, if you're a football fan, the easiest position to replace on the fly, to plug and play, is the linebacker spot. And in Iowa's scheme, it's not really a huge position group that's asked to do a lot. Iowa is not blitz heavy. They basically just ask that their linebackers fill holes and clean up tackles. That's it. So it is a question mark, but it's not a weakness, their potential linebacker depth and experience. Number 4 is the effectiveness and the consistency and execution of this much older Iowa offensive line. Once again, guys, I've seen everything that's been going on the last 2 years, Hawk fans. I feel you. I bleed with you. It's been an embarrassment. There's so many fingers that can be pointed for what's been going on for their lackluster, putting it nicely, offense. But it really is their offensive line. They did Spencer Petras zero favors, okay? Zero. And I'm not putting it squarely on the O-line's play the last couple seasons, but to me, that is the biggest reason why we faltered offensively, okay? Coupled with a lot of other situations, circumstances, and reasons, okay? So if this offensive line, which I do believe is going to be a strength, if they falter yet again for a third season in a row, it could be a long season, Hawkeye fans. I'm just telling you. So this still has to remain a question until I'm proven otherwise. All right? Now, number 2 on this list, and this is something that we are just seeing the remnants of this. We are just kind of breathing a nice sigh of relief. This is the potential injury bug that could at any given time rear its ugly face and take out some potentially huge pieces of our chessboard, all right? And I get it. This is something that could affect any team at any given time as well. But look what just happened. During the last open scrimmage, the kids at Kinnick Day, that Cade McNamara, coming off of a surgically repaired knee from last season, he goes down in a non-contact drill. He misses 2 weeks of practice, and he just returned this week in prep for week 1. We all held our breath, all right? And as we all know, that once a knee goes bad, just like a back goes bad, those injuries, it's always difficult to say what could happen and always difficult to get back to where you were previously and get better. It's just always a up in the air question mark, a juggling act. So I am very concerned about the injuries, okay, for this Hawk team, especially at the quarterback position. And first, the biggest question is exactly that. What a lead-in is former Michigan quarterback Cade McNamara. We added him during the offseason via transfer portal. We know what we're going to get in this guy. He's a proven winner, a big-time commodity. He can control the game flow, the field, the offense. Watching him at Michigan, he fit their system perfectly, which I think he will fit. He'll fit Iowa's system perfectly as well. Good field general. All reports is a great teammate. Got the experience. He guided them to the Big Ten title and then on to their first playoff appearance before he lost his starting job via injury last season at Michigan. But once again, I am so concerned about the health of that knee. And that could be something that could affect whether I truly believe, if I'm going to pick Iowa to win the West Division, which I'll unveil that here shortly in a little bit. Because behind him, guys, our quarterback room is very, very thin. Joe Labus, who's made one career start, granted it was a win in last year's Music City Bowl against Kentucky, he's right now hurt. He is not available for week 1, and they've said it's going to be a multiple week issue with him. And then Deacon Hill, a guy we added in the transfer portal, that quarterback room, guys, I throw up a little prayer there. Hopefully they stay healthy. So that's my 5 biggest questions concerning this Iowa squad for the upcoming season. And now the part of this all of you have been waiting for, how I see this schedule going. What is my prediction for the Iowa Hawkeyes this season? Let's get into that right now. And also what I'll be providing you, a little bonus stock here, a bonus number for all of you. Not only will I tell you if it's going to be a win or a loss, but I will tell you if I believe they will either match or eclipse 25 points. Once again, we've got to be scoreboard watching. Will they end up averaging more than 25 points a game? I'll let you know that as well. So let's go ahead and start off with the upcoming week 1. They host the Utah State, the Aggies. That's right, the other Aggies, not Texas A&M or New Mexico State. The Utah State Aggies come to Kinnick Stadium. This is going to be a W. I don't see Utah State being able to hang with Iowa. Even if Cade McNamara isn't in this game, this is still going to be a victory. And I do believe that the answer is yes, they will score 25 points or more in this opening game. Or they will go over that total. So, victory and over in week 1. Now, week 2, the annual Cy-Hawk Trophy game. All eyes will be on all Iowans' eyes, I should say, will be on this game. This year it's at Ames. Last year, Iowa State broke Iowa's winning streak in Kinnick and overall in the series with a 10-7 victory. I believe the streak for Iowa, they had won 6 straight before last year's loss, which this guy did predict in the preseason, by the way, and I did. So I think this game has really lost a little bit of luster because the ongoing gambling scandal between these two teams, as I mentioned already, has really hit Iowa State very deeply. Out is their starting quarterback, Deckers, and their starting running back from last year. He has left the team. He was included in that investigation. So Iowa State has lost a lot of their veteran leadership, their entire backfield. So I just see Iowa being a little bit too much for them. I think Iowa reclaims the Cy-Hawk Trophy. They begin a new winning streak over the Cyclones. And I think they will go over that 25-point mark as well. And this, to me, is another game. I don't think they have to have Cade McNamara in there. So if he is a little bit dinged up, do the right thing, the smart thing, rest him. Okay? So that would make them 2-0, both games over 25 points. Week 3, they host the Western Michigan Broncos out of the MAC. And the Broncos have been kind of the MAC arch nemesis of our Hawkeyes. They come into this matchup with a 2-1 series record over the Iowa Hawkeyes. I think this game, the Broncos are heavily overmatched. I think Iowa gets it done. They get the W. They equal the overall series 2-2 against their MAC foe. And I think they also will go over 25 points in this contest as well. Now, week 4 is where it gets real. Week 4 begins the Big Ten Gauntlet. It's the Big Ten Conference opener for our Hawkeyes, and it's a big one. They travel to Happy Valley to take on the Penn State Nittany Lions in Happy Valley during the annual whiteout game in front of 106,000 of their closest friends there at Penn State. It's also the first ever conference game that'll be broadcast on the CBS network. Can't wait to see this. It's really going to be a tough, hard game. I think Iowa will keep this close because these two teams have had a big-time games in their rivalry. I mean, Iowa for a while there absolutely owned Penn State, and then Penn State kind of flipped the script on Iowa, but Iowa has won the last 2 against the Nittany Lions. But I think this is just going to be a little bit too much too early. But it is a better chance. Any team has a better chance to pull this kind of upset early in the season because Penn State will still be working in their brand new starting quarterback, stud, 5-star prospect, the former number 1 quarterback in the nation, Drew Allar. So the defense will make it tough on him, but I just think with the home field advantage, they'll be jazzed up. I do think Penn State will get the victory, but there is hope. The last time Iowa played at Penn State during the whiteout, Iowa fans, we haven't forgot it, the Adrian Claiborne block and then scoop and 6 back in 2009, which was an Iowa victory, 21-10. But I see Iowa losing this game. So then that makes them 3-1 on the season. And I do believe they will go under the 25-point barrier in this game at Penn State. Week 5, Iowa returns back to Kinnick Stadium to take on Sparty, Michigan State, and Mel Big Money Tucker. Whew, I think this is going to be a tough situation for Michigan State. I think Iowa will be a little bit banged up because of the physicality of Penn State, but I really don't see Iowa losing this matchup. I mean, I think they will get it done. I think Michigan State is a little bit stout on both lines of scrimmage, but I think their defensive secondary is still bad. Their backfield, their quarterback, Peyton Thorne, left very late in the transfer portal window. So did their best wide receiver. I don't think they're going to have a lot of offensive firepower. I like Iowa to defeat Michigan State. Then they would improve to 4-1 on the season. And I think they will go over 25 points against Michigan State as well. And again, I think this is one of those games that they don't necessarily need the services of Cade and McNamara to get the victory. I think their defense, special teams, rushing attack, home field advantage, I think that'll be enough to get it done. All right? So now moving into week 6, Iowa's ancient arch rival in the West Division. Well, there's really 2 of them, but this one really more lately. They host Purdue. It's the homecoming game, week 6. Purdue is one of those 4 programs that have a brand new coach at the helm in the division. Ryan Walters takes over for Coach Brom, who went back to Louisville, his alma mater. Ryan Walters is the former stud DC coordinator at Illinois, and before that, the local Missouri Tigers. If you don't know, I do live here in the Show Me State. So they definitely a change of culture, identity. They go from a offensive-minded guru to a defensive-minded guru. I think that bodes well for Iowa, and plus Purdue is replacing basically their entire offense from last season, the team that won the West Division last season. I think Iowa gets this game done. I expect them to get the W. That would move their record to 5-1. That would then make them 2-1 in conference play and homecoming. And I hope this happens because I will be in attendance for that game there in Iowa City. We've already got our tickets bought. Me, the wifey, and the kids were uber excited. So with that victory over Purdue, that does move them to 5-1, 2-1 in conference play. And now week 7, this is a tough stretch for Iowa. As you could tell yet, I haven't said they've had their bye week because they haven't. And they've played some pretty physical teams. Now this could end up being the biggest game of the year, not just for our Iowa Hawkeyes, but within the West Division race itself. Week 7, Iowa travels up north to take on the Wisconsin Badgers in Madison. They'll be jumping around in Madtown for this one. Bragging rights, and also at stake is the Heartland Trophy. Iowa defeated Wisconsin last season, and Wisconsin for the longest time really had Iowa's number, guys. It was really just a rivalry in name only. But they've split the last 4 meetings, each of those victories going to the home team. Luke Fickell is another one of those new head coaches. The guy had overwhelming success at Cincinnati. He was brought in over the offseason to replace Coach Paul Chryst, who was fired by Wisconsin mid-season last year. And then interim head coach Jim Leonard was not given the head coaching duties, so they hired... I said duties. They did hire Luke Fickell, and now he is changing the culture at Wisconsin. Gone will be the old-fashioned Barry Alvarez ball and Brett Bielema ball of the power I, right? 2 yards in a cloud of dust. He is going to install more of an air raid and aerial attack offense, more balanced. So will he have the roster to have success this season? Will that team buy in? He did bring in a very, very studly quarterback via the transfer portal, Tanner Mordecai from SMU. There's just a lot of question marks around this team. They are the highest ranked Big Ten West team, and I think a lot of that is due to the beauty pageant of hiring Luke Fickell. So I think this Wisconsin team will struggle. There will be some road bumps and some blocks this season. They are the overwhelming favorite to win the division. I may or may not agree with that. You'll have to wait. But I think because of Iowa's schedule, not having the bye week, I just think 7 straight game, this will be too much for Iowa to take care of on the road in Madison. I think they do lose to the Badgers. That would drop their record then to 5-2, 2-2 in the Big Ten Conference play. And I think they will go under that 25-point barrier in this contest. But I could be wrong. I mean, the last time we saw Cade McNamara play at Camp Randall was 2 seasons ago, the Fox Big Noon game. That was his coming out party for Michigan at Camp Randall. To that point, hands down, his best game ever in a Michigan uniform. So maybe he'll find that success again this season, but I just think Iowa's going to come up a little bit short. All right. And now, week 8. Once again, Iowa does not have a bye yet, so 8 straight games to open up the season. I think they'll be a little bit dry in the gas tanks. They'll be running on fumes. They welcome their other arch rival, the Minnesota Golden Gophers, and the bald-headed beauty P.J. Fleck, the prestigious and greatest trophy in all of college football, the Floyd of Rosedale, the Divine Swine, is on the line. Iowa currently possesses the trophy, the Floyd of Rosedale. And I think Minnesota is one of those teams to me that's on the next tier of contenders in the Big Ten West. I really only see 3 teams really having a legit chance to claim the division. I think Minnesota is that next team out, having to replace a ton, but you still know what you're going to get from P.J. Fleck and his crew. Run heavy, physicality on both sides of the line of scrimmage, which is kind of how Iowa wants to play. They want to also drag you into a phone booth. In this game, I just think Iowa has too much for them, talent-wise, but also I just think that Coach Fleck is a jinxed man. I love me some P.J. Fleck, my number 1 man crush within the division. I do, but he has yet to beat Coach Kirk Ferentz straight up. He's lost 8. The Hawkeyes have won 8 straight against the Golden Gophers. I think they will make it 9. I think Iowa gets the W against the Golden Gophers. That will improve their overall record to 6-2, 3-2 in Big Ten Conference play. And I think they will also once again go under the 25-point barrier in this game because that Minnesota defense is stout. They will push you around. They are well coached, and they usually don't hurt themselves. So I think Iowa will get it done, but it'll be a low-scoring affair. Now, finally, post-Week 8 against Minnesota comes Iowa's bye. And it really comes at a great time because you have 4 games left down the stretch, and all 4 of them, in my perspective, are all winnable games. Now, does that mean they will win all of them? You have to wait and find out. Please subscribe, like, share, comment. Let me know what you think so far. Week 9. After a bye week, Iowa travels to the Windy City to take on Northwestern. Not in Evanston, but officially it's a neutral site game. They play at the historic friendly confines of Wrigley Field. Hopefully there'll be another banner raised by my Chicago Cubs for another World Series title, we hope. We can see that on display when they meet up at Wrigley. Time will tell. So they face off with Northwestern at Wrigley. Northwestern with everything going on via this bullying scandal. I think it's going to be a very long season for the Cats. Fired, let go was stud coach, everything, Mr. Northwestern. Patty Fitzgerald is out. I think this team never rallies around their interim head coach. They struggle, and I actually did predict them. I said this during my bold predictions episode. that I think Northwestern, along with Vandy and Stanford, all three of those Power 5 teams will go winless in conference play. I like Iowa big in this game. And once again, this is not a game I think they need Cade McNamara to win. I like Iowa, and I like them to go big time over that 25-point barrier in this game. With that victory, they improved to 7-2 overall, 4-2 in Big Ten conference play. After that, Week 10, they welcome Rutgers to Kinnick Stadium. The Scarlet Knights, I think this will be a much improved team under second go-around coach Greg Schiano. I think this is his best team, but I still think they have a lot of work to do there in Piscataway. I did pick Rutgers. I put a little bit of money down, some moolah, bread, dinero, whatever. I did put a little bit of money on Rutgers for the over 4.5 wins. I think they can get to 5, if not maybe 6, but I don't believe it's going to happen on this day. I do like Iowa to defeat Rutgers. Once again, I don't think they need Cade McNamara for this game. I like them to win and also go over that 25-point barrier. With that victory, they improved to 8-2 overall, 5-2 within the Big Ten conference play. Next, Week 11, and I think this is, to me, the biggest game of the year for Iowa and maybe also for Illinois, all right? Because I did say during my bowl predictions episode, which if you haven't watched it, check it out. I don't think you'll like it. I know you're going to love it. I predicted that whoever won this game would have, going into the last week of the season, the slight lead to capture the Big Ten West Division title. I think they wouldn't necessarily be in the driver's seat, but they would be ahead and would control their own destiny. All right? Now, that being said, I'm gonna keep you kind of hanging on here. I'm not going to give it away. I'm not going to show all my cards quite yet. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I think the winner of this game ultimately will win the West, but it's going to go far in determining that. Senior Day, Iowa City, Illinois, the Fighting Illini under Brett Bielema. He makes his return to Iowa City, former Iowa player. During his tenure, they have played at Iowa, but he missed that game due to being out with COVID-19. He comes back home to Iowa City, and this is going to be a tough game for both squads. Last year, Illinois and Iowa ranked first and second overall in scoring defense in the entire nation. It's going to be a drag 'em out, body blow kind of game. Ball possession, limiting possessions, turnovers, special teams. This could be like last year's game, a 9-6 kind of effort via scoreboard. I don't think it's going to be that low, but I do expect that kind of game. And I think both teams will leave everything on the line. But I do like Iowa this year to grab the victory in a very hard-fought, workman-like kind of effort. Bring, pack your lunch, bring it to work with you. I do like Iowa to defeat the Fighting Illini and to go under that 25-point barrier. So with that victory, Iowa then is kind of leading the race to win the West. They improve their record to 9-2 and 6-2 within Big Ten Conference play. And then Week 12, the final game of the season, they end up, like they have for a while now, Black Friday against Nebraska. This year it's at Lincoln. All Iowa does, I think, that they need to do, I believe if Iowa wins this game, they'll win the division. Even if they lose, I think they'll have an outside shot still. But let's see how I see this game playing out. All right? So with everything on the line, and it's Black Friday versus those black shirts, facing the same situation last season. Last year, Iowa hosted Nebraska, a game I was at. All Iowa had to do was beat the Cornhuskers. They would win the West, advance to Indy once again, but it did not happen. So will history repeat itself? Will they have a turkey hangover, too much of the tryptophan hangover, right? Or will they be able to exorcise the demons from last year, but this time on the road in Lincoln, facing this must-win potentially for bowl eligibility? I think Nebraska, under first-year coach Matt Rule, the guy who has proven that he knows what he's doing, one of, if not the best coaching hire, not just in the Big Ten, but maybe in the country last offseason. Gone is the Scott Frost administration, and it should have been gone seasons ago. I'm just telling you, Nebraska fans, you held on to your favorite son for far too long. I know it's hard to kick out family, but it's a business decision. It's business, nothing personal, like the Godfather would say, right? So gone is Scott Frost, and I do think Nebraska will get to a bowl this year. I think they will get to that 6-win barrier. The first time they'll go bowling since 2016, which is crazy to think about that and then realize. I mean, Barack Obama was the president last time Nebraska went to a bowl game. So I think that could be the situation. A very desperate game. Iowa, if you win the West, you go to Indy. Or Nebraska, you win, you go bowling, and you get that elusive 13th game. That's what I think it could come down to. It's really going to be an all-out battle. There could be some nasty elements as well in Lincoln that time of year. Snow, ice, high winds. You don't know. But this game, Iowa comes off a very, very physical game, all right? Playing against Illinois, that is going to, I think, level the playing field. They'll be tired. They'll be banged up. And can they do it? I do. Unfortunately, I think this will be Iowa's one really bad game of the season. I'm talking offensive woes, turnovers, penalties, injuries. By this time, guys just being tired, out of gas, conditions. I just think that this is Iowa's one really, really disappointing letdown game, especially after that huge victory against Illinois in Week 11. So I do think that Big Red wins this game and once again breaks the hearts again of Hawkeye fans. I think Nebraska does find a way to win this game. Iowa does not get revenge from last season. Now, what does that mean? And then also, I think with that, Iowa fans dislike, and some of them have utter disgust for all things Nebraska. It will grow. I'm not one of those Nebraska haters. I do respect the program, all right? But I know that those feelings are kind of mutual. I think there are some Nebraska fans that hate all things Iowa as well. So I think that will only add to this budding potential rivalry. I mean, it is a rivalry, but Iowa won so many in a row prior to last season. I think it was 6 or 7 in a row. So you really can't call that a rivalry. But I think with Matt Rule there now, this could become a legit Black Friday rivalry for both squads. But this year, I like Nebraska. So what does that mean? That means Iowa, my official prediction, Iowa's final record will be 9-3, 6-3 in the Big Ten. And 9 wins, guys, is not bad. There's nothing wrong with that. All right? Now, before I unveil if I think Iowa will win the West, let me share with you what I think their potential ceiling could be and their floor. The ceiling for this squad, guys, if things take care of business, if injuries don't happen, the offensive line holds up, Cade McNamara's health is never affected, everything goes right, they're an offensive juggernaut, they're scoring 30 points a game, I think this team is going to do really well. I think ultimately with their schedule and sort of the continuity and stability issues within the division, I think the potential ceiling for this game, for the season for this squad is 11-1, 8-1 in conference. I do think everything plays right for them. I think they could then beat Nebraska, and I think they could split those away games at Penn State and at Wisconsin. So I do think Iowa could have a very special historic season, which if you go 11-1, you're going to win the West, and then you have a chance to play potentially for the college football playoff for a berth if you take care of business and defeat whoever the winner of the East is, which I did predict will be Michigan. And by the way, I did predict Michigan will not only win the Big Ten, but win the national title over LSU in the national championship game. That is my prediction. But 11-1 gives you everything is within your grasp. So we'll see. I think that is the utmost ceiling for this team if things go right. Now, the floor would be a little bit down from the 9-3 that I think they will go. Let's say they have injury issues, running backs just don't work out, the tight end play just isn't there, wide receivers continue to not make plays for this Iowa offense. The offense is all over the radar again, zero accountability, they're ineffective. I think Iowa, with what they have, will get to 6 wins. I think they can do that with this schedule and all the other upheaval in the division. But I think the floor of this team is 6-6. All right. If some of these things just happen, overall going 4-5 in Big Ten play. All right. And maybe they lose at, maybe they were to happen to lose at Iowa State. They rise up. I mean, this is their biggest game of the year. It's Iowa State's Super Bowl every year against Iowa. So they lose that one non-conference game. So 6-6 to me is the floor of this Hawkeye squad this season, which would be a huge disappointment. And it would be absolutely for everybody, including yours truly. So let me know what you think about overall how I predict the season's going to go, my official prediction, the ceiling, and the floor. Let me know. Comment, like, share, subscribe. Now let's get on to my final thoughts. Finally, who do I think is going to win my prediction for the Big Ten West? And here's what it comes down to, guys. The stability, identity, and continuity and culture of a team, that's who is going to win this year's West Division. The only 3 teams I think that can possibly win it are, in alphabetical order, Illinois, Iowa, and Wisconsin. And Minnesota would be the next team out with Nebraska. All right. I think bringing up the rear is going to be Purdue and Northwestern. Also, due to the potential elephant in the room, which is the Iowa offense. Okay. What is going to happen? And is it still a ticking time bomb? Absolutely. Now, everyone, and I want to set the record straight. I'm talking to you Iowa fans there because, once again, I am very objective and subjective. All right. I am not a Homer Simpson. I'm a fan. I'm a true fan, a good fan. That a lot of you have said, oh, it's a brand new Iowa offense. That is not correct. All right. It still is being led and held by OC Brian Ferentz. It just happens to be in the hands of players who have proven to be more effective, right? To be in the hands of those who look to actually play the part of an offensive team that can execute at a higher level. But it is not a new offense, okay? And let's say the offense, once again, we have a replay of last season. Due to play calling, injuries, things just don't go their way. The ball bounces funny sometimes, guys. It just does, okay? I know the defense will be solid. The special teams, I mean, with everything that happened last year, they still went 7-5 in the regular season. The defense, what they did, for Iowa to win 7 games last year is really stupendous. It is absolutely out of this world how Iowa was able to win 7 games in the regular season, and then 8 with their bowl victory over Kentucky. So due to all of those potentials, I am not picking Iowa to win the West Division. I think they will come up eventually 1 game short. And my surprise winner That's right. Even though I did pick them to defeat them at home, I think the Illinois Fighting Illini, that's right, the Orange Crush, holla if you hear me, I do predict that Illinois will win the Big Ten West because of what they have coming back. I mean, they did lose a lot of talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball, to the NFL. Gone is quarterback Danny DeVito, right? But they bring in quarterback Lute Altmaier from Ole Miss. And you know, Illinois, they don't expect their quarterback to throw for 300 or 200 yards a game. They're going to keep it on the ground. They're going to possess the ball, and they're going to try to drag you into that phone booth and into a rock fight. That's why I think they will weather the storm, and I think they will find themselves on top. And plus, Illinois' schedule is very comparable to Iowa's. I think they have the best schedules to win the division. They both play Penn State, but Illinois has them at home. Illinois also, like Iowa, does not play Michigan or Ohio State. And Illinois hosts Wisconsin, but they do travel to Iowa and they travel to Minnesota, excuse me. So that is, to me, their two hardest road games at Iowa and Minnesota. I do think they'll lose to Penn State and obviously lose to Iowa, but I think beating Wisconsin and Minnesota, that ultimately is what will give the Fighting Illini the Big Ten West Division title. So, just prepare to maybe have your hearts broken, Hawk fans, and I hope I'm wrong. And like Charles Barkley says, I may be wrong, but I don't think so. But I hope so. So that's it, guys. That's my season preview and predictions for the upcoming 2023 football season for our beloved Iowa Hawkeyes. Please subscribe, like, share, comment, get involved, let your voice be heard. I welcome, ask, and beg for your involvement. I want to hear from you. And just no matter what happens, be a good fan. Give thanks because college football is back. Ragnarok has already begun. So just give thanks and be happy. Enjoy the upcoming season. Later this week, I'll be back with my week 1 pick'em and preview episode. That should be out Thursday afternoon. So please check me out. Subscribe, get notifications. You're going to want to check out that episode. So until then, enjoy your week. Enjoy school. Welcome back to school, kids. I know some of you are excited, but most of you probably not. But enjoy the rest of your week. Check me out Thursday, and thank you for all you do for the channel, your support, and your time and your attention. So thank you for being here on this episode of the Touchdown Black and Gold Vlog. See you soon. Bye-bye.